Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. It's been a year since Michigan Central Station, the once shuttered train station, was revamped and reopened as an innovation hub. Much has changed there, and still more changes to come. The CEO of Michigan Central is here to give us an update. Then, the Dearborn Inn was opened by Henry Ford as the first hotel for an airport in the country. The inn has evolved through the decades and was just revamped. We have three leaders involved with that project here to talk about it. It's a look at two iconic locations making waves across our region. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by PNC Bank.
And we're so pleased to finally welcome Josh Syrifman, who's CEO of Michigan Central, who has been working at breakneck speed here, bringing this train station slash innovation hub slash other things coming to life for the last couple of years here. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Carol. It's great to be here.
Well, I can't believe it's been already a year since the station officially had its debut. I think it was June 6th of last year. That a year has passed. I have to ask you, what has the year been like?
A frenzy. It's been amazing. It's 2 years since we launched the first part of Michigan Central, new lab at Michigan Central, a year since we opened the station. We've got over 2,000 people now working out of Michigan Central overall. We've had hundreds of thousands of people come through the station. We've got all kinds of activity happening in there. And I can't believe it's been a year. It's really been a blur.
You have a vast background in economic development. You worked for Mayor Archer many moons ago, and Mayor Bloomberg in New York and other places here. This has to have been one of the crazier things. I mean, to do what was done with that station when Bill Ford envisioned it in 2018, this shuttered train station with busted windows and everything else, into this massive billion-dollar-plus, beautiful revamped building here. This has got to be mind-blowing to you.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's unique. There's really nothing like it. And I think myself, the entire team, everybody involved, is drawn to it because it's such an incredible opportunity. Yeah. And what Bill envisioned, what Ford invested in, there's nobody else who's really created a catalyst like that in Detroit or frankly anywhere.
When did you actually join? When did you come on board?
So I'm a little over 3 years now.
Okay. So New Lab, so explain to people what New Lab is who may not know.
Yeah, so New Lab at Michigan Central is where we're focused on creating an ecosystem of early stage companies, of innovators. We work with a partner called New Lab, who's really a market leader in curating and finding technologists and entrepreneurs. And that's where we have, at this point, over 150 companies in the building focused on all kinds of forward-looking things: mobility, clean tech, advanced aerial, advanced manufacturing, you name it. It's really a market-leading cluster of the growth economy.
Isn't it intended to be sort of like a hub where a small business, maybe a startup or younger company, comes in and can have office space and other things like that, and maybe learn from each other there? Isn't that kind of it's a networking thing?
It is. It's a really unique environment where if you're working there, you have access to all kinds of infrastructure. You can rapidly prototype just about anything. You have access to a network of other support folks. So we've got, for example, 25 venture capital firms have folks in there. Government has folks in there. You have access to each other. You have access to corporate customers. And so it's not just the startups. It's also more established companies. We have companies that are already grown past the startup stage. We have corporates that participate, universities that have folks there. So it's a real blend where you have access to the tools you need, to people, ideas that can help foster growth.
In Michigan Central, you also have Ford and other Google, Code Next, other companies inside of it right now. Is there room for more? I mean, are you looking to expand and have other companies come in there? I mean, you have the the red carpet, welcome out, come on in?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah. Google's been a great partner. The Code Next program, the first people working in the station since the 1980s were Detroit teens through the Google's Code Next program. Yeah. It's an amazing program. So they've been a great partner. Henry Ford Health is a great partner. We have tons of companies and others that we work with. But the whole point is to keep growing and grow the ecosystem, grow the pie, and expand the network. And really, there's benefit for everybody to be involved. And that is the essence of Michigan Central.
Yeah, and I know when I last talked to Bill Ford at the Detroit Auto Show earlier in January, he talked about the need to have a hotel, which he's been talking about, and having restaurants there. I know the hotel thing is still in process, whatever here, but the restaurants, how is that set?
Yeah, and on the hotel, we're very close.
Okay.
An amazing hotel product in the station. We have, and that will bring restaurants and other things. We have, for a while now, we've had Yellow Light Coffee and Donuts as our first food and beverage tenant in the station. We also we have Neighbor by Folk, which is a great Corktown-based business that curates a bunch of things there. We have the shop, which creates a bunch of Michigan Central-driven merchandise, and then we have assorted pop-ups and things that happen. And over time, we'll keep adding to this.
Keep adding more to it. Well,
yeah.
And there's one really interesting thing you might not think about when you think of Michigan Central. We're going to talk about it. We're going to take a quick break first. Be back with more Michigan Matters after this. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're chatting with Josh Seierfman, who is CEO of Michigan Central, about that development in Corktown, which has just rejuvenated that whole area there. It's amazing and how much has happened so quickly there. One of the things when I talked to Bill Ford about this 3 years ago when they were just gearing up for it, and he talked back then about they were already getting reservations. They wanted to know if they could make wedding reservations. They had their wedding there 2 or 3 years out. And I heard that it's become a popular destination for that. Is that true?
It is true. We have a very robust events business, which includes a lot of weddings. I think it's possible, don't hold me to the number, but we have, I think, over 50 weddings currently booked. But we also do all kinds of events. Coming up is something called Summit Detroit, which will be both downtown and at Michigan Central for a few days. We do corporate events, tech events. We have lots of not-for-profits and others that do galas and fundraising. So it's become a vibrant event destination.
I was just there the other week. Lawrence Tech had their annual alum celebration event, and I was there. And it looked, at first I'd been in the station since June 6th. It looked amazing. It would be a great place if you're going to have a wedding. So, and I know you also have something called Fridays at the station. It's a music thing. What's that?
We do. So we have a lot of programming for the public. We have the third Friday of the month. We have Fridays at the station where there's really interesting music programming, sometimes other things as well, and it's all about unexpected collaborations. And so you see artists that you would not usually expect to see together. It's great. There's food and beverage available. We're getting an amazing crowd of all kinds of folks. It's really fun and exciting.
Well, when people are coming to town, that's one of the things that people say, I want to go by and see the station. Now, what's that look like now?
Yes.
So there's been whispers going around for some time now about Amtrak. I mean, technically, this was a train station. Millions of people came to Detroit back, World War II, as the auto plants were opening up. They came through that station. Obviously, service has been gone for a long time, but there's whispers Amtrak is thinking about bringing service back there.
Yeah, so we've been working with Amtrak, the state of Michigan, the city of Detroit, and others. For us, we're an advocate in this. We'd love to see it happen, and we're optimistic that it can happen, that it will happen. I don't think the train station itself will ever be quite what it was as a station, but we'd love to see the international connection, Toronto, Detroit, Chicago, and we'd love to see Detroit, Michigan Central to both Dearborn and Ann Arbor. Would have high value. So again, we're advocates, but we're certainly doing everything we can to make it happen.
And I know that the destination has been very hot with tourists. In fact, I know when it first started, I mean, you had tickets that were gone, like a Bruce Springsteen tickets, boom, or Lady Gaga, boom, they're gone. I mean, is it still that way? Is this frenzied pace to get tickets for this?
Yeah, we don't, there's public access now without tickets. So, we mostly ticketed just to make sure we had enough control that it was a great experience for people. And Carol, really, you mentioned when it was active rail, at its peak in the 1940s, it was 4,000 people a day coming through. We will sometimes get on a weekend day 4,000 people in the station again.
Wow.
And for then we cap it, so make sure that people's experience is great. But no, you don't need tickets. We're open during the week. We're open
So anyone can just show
weekends.
up, go through, whatever?
You can just show up and at least look at some of the ground floor shop, get a coffee and other things, and then we layer in additional experiences like our Friday night programming.
I know one of the things that Bill Ford and others, yourselves, you don't stand still on what you're doing as your current success. You look down the road about what's coming up next. After eventually with the hotel and the restaurants, what do you see going and getting a train service somewhere nearby in the vicinity? What do you see next there?
Yeah, well, you're right. We're always focused on what's ahead. Really, Michigan Central's a 30-acre district, and it's a technology and cultural hub. And so our hope and intent is to keep growing what already is building there and continue to be a driver of the growth economy, be a real commercial hub, be a global destination, be an asset that is a part of every Detroiter and everybody in the region's day-to-day lives. So in many ways for us, the past few years have been a whirlwind, and we've made huge progress, but we really think about it as we're at the beginning.
Where's it go? And there also was some time ago talk about a Wi-Fi road in the vicinity where you drove over it and you had an electric car and it would be automatically regenerated driving over it. Where does that stand? Is that?
So there's a quarter-mile stretch on 14th Street. That's the only public road in the country that has in-pavement charging capability. It's an example of the kind of technology infrastructure and the tools that companies can access at Michigan Central. It's really fascinating. It's about equivalent to a level 2 charge. We have a number of companies using it to sort of test with frequent usage to understand the capability, and over time that's something that could become a major way to create charging as much more accessible, much easier to do.
So explain this to me. I was just on 14th Street when I was there for the LTU event, drove right over it. I was probably driving out, not realizing it. But so it's something anybody can do and have access to quickly.
Yeah, you have to have a little receiver in the vehicle.
Okay.
So we have to know. You can't just drive over to get charged. But if you have that receiver, then you'll get a charge.
There's so much more to say. This has been great. I'm glad we finally got a chance to connect. We've been talking about doing this for the longest time here. So thank you so much for being here. Love to have you back, talk about things as they develop along the way here.
Would love to. Thank you for having me.
Okay, keep it right here. We're back with more Michigan Matters after this. And welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're joined by Laurel Martinez, who's Destination Sales Manager and Executive at Dearborn Inn, Julie Mandola, who's the Global Portfolio Director at Ford Land, and Ted Ryan, Archives and Heritage Brand Manager at Ford Motor Company. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool to be talking about this really iconic hotel inn, whatever you want to call it here, the Dearborn Inn. And Ted, you're the historian here of this. This is, I think, the first hotel for an airport in the country.
One of the first.
Okay, not the, okay.
We're going to give it a qualification because...
I'm trying to get a little more bump, but but Henry Ford started this.
He did in 1931. Ford was into airplanes. We were beginning to manufacture planes. The famous tri-motor came in. The Ford Airport was across the street from the Dearborn Inn, and Henry and Edsel Ford wanted a hotel for guests who were visiting Ford. And the Dearborn Inn was born. They based it on colonial style that he had seen in New England. Albert Kahn was the architect, the famous industrial designer. He designed the inn, and it opened with much acclaim and has
What
been...
year did it finish?
1931.
1931.
And has been in operation ever since.
And Laurel, the hotel has had so many infamous, famous guests, people like Walt Disney, excuse me, Orville Wright, Norman Rockwell, Betty Davis, President Reagan, Eleanor Roosevelt, many more. How are you including the heritage of all these people in terms of how you are decorating and doing things throughout the new inn?
The archive team did a really fantastic job of almost creating a mini museum inside the hotel itself through the pieces that they curated in the display cases. So we have, for example, Walt Disney's signature is on display in the lobby. There's an antique scrapbook. So just really a nod to the history while we updated and renovated the interior spaces as well.
And you have also in there some historic archives, like the Italian marble flooring in the lobby that was actually chosen by Henry Ford, too.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get these things?
The marble flooring is original to the hotel from 1931, along with the marble fireplace that was kept too, crown molding in the lobby, and then the rest of the lobby space has been updated, so really kept those historic touches while modernizing the space too.
And Julie, the hotel is owned by Ford Motor Company, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's managed by Ford Land?
Marriott's our operating partner, but Ford Land helped oversee the renovation.
Okay, so it's a Marriott hotel too.
Mm-hmm.
So you worked with design teams in putting this together because the Inn was closed for 2 years, which is a long time to shut down. What were you doing with these design teams?
A big piece to this was really taking the Inn up to the standard of the modern traveler. We took the Inn all the way down to the concrete floors and the horsehair insulation. And part of the opportunity was to really modernize the space to provide new experiences, different sizes of guest rooms, suites, junior suites, presidential suites, to not only continue to attract the business traveler, but to take the Inn back to where it was, where it welcomed families and encouraged individuals to engage in Greater Dearborn.
Now, 100 and how many rooms?
135, and then the replica homes will be opening later this summer, and that will bring additional.
So tell me about the replica homes. Explain a little bit.
So out back, there are a number of replica homes that Henry Ford, and maybe this is better for Ted, brought back and had restored back onto the back part of the campus. They all tell a unique story of the original owner, but guests who come out there can rent one room at one of these replica homes.
How big are these homes?
Oh, anywhere from a one-bedroom home to maybe a 4 or 5 bedroom home. And so you can actually go walk through the door and rent an entire house for a weekend and have multiple rooms for a family, or you can just stay in one of the rooms and experience what it was like back then out there.
So, Ted, as you're helping with this, with all the archives and artifacts throughout these rooms and so forth, I'm going to imagine you have a whole bunch of the stuff stashed somewhere that you can go find, right?
We do. We have our archives is in the Ford Engineering Lab building, and as we've been working with the different teams, the main thing first is to find the kernel of the story to tell, and then to find the artifacts to illustrate it. So for example, Clara's table is a perfect example. Clara Ford and Henry Ford had dinner almost every Sunday night at the hotel. So we found the cookbook, Clara Ford cooking for Henry Ford, and we provided that to Marriott and the teams to begin to develop menus and a design ethos around how the room looks. So you find the story. We've got the material in the archives, but find your story first and then flesh it out.
So you've been officially reopened since March?
March 19th.
How's it gone?
It's been incredible. We've been very fortunate to be busy and to be so well received by the community as well, not only from a guest room perspective, but in a restaurant space as well. At Clara's Table, as Ted mentioned, and then also Four Vagabonds, which is our cocktail bar open in the evenings as well.
That one. Well, and you're perfectly positioned. You're on Oakwood, right? And
correct.
Nearby Henry Ford and the Greenfield Village. I mean, if you like history, that's the #1 tourist destination in the state, I believe, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a great destination. So who is the market for this?
Our market is, as you mentioned, business travelers, but also geared towards those leisure guests who are visiting the museum, or maybe they're just looking to wander around our beautiful 23 acres that we have. So really a wide variety of guests. And then, of course, to our local community that supported us before we closed for renovations, during renovations, and now we're so happy to be back dining in Clara's Table or staying with us for a little staycation.
And we're going to continue the conversation, take a quick break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters right after this. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Laura Martinez, Julie Mendola, and Ted Ryan about the Dearborn Inn, a historic site which was revamped and is now open for business. And you were mentioning something about a bar, which unusual name. Tell me about the history of this bar.
So the Four Vagabonds.
Four Vagabonds.
Four Vagabonds was a group that Henry Ford started, and it was Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and Burroughs and Firestone, and they would go basically upscale camping across America. They took 15 trips, and they became quite not notorious, but they were they generated a lot of interest as they took these trips across America. So for the bar, we thought it would be a great place to pay a little bit of homage to this team and give some design elements.
And part of it is to also incorporate not only the mystery that they had with their travels, but also tie in aviation. And so when you come into that bar, you can see the touches of a propeller hung over the bar. The shape of the bar is meant to be an airplane wing, which you can see reflected not only in the lighting above, but the bar itself.
Interesting.
And then as you step into the private dining, there's a beautiful hand-painted mural that actually depicts the four vagabonds on their travel.
Wow.
And so when you go there, you can actually immerse yourself not only in the history around the inn with aviation, but learn a little bit more about the travels there.
Well, and in fact, Edsel Ford, who was Henry's son, was really the one who was really pushing aviation back in the day. Even before the Arsenal Democracy in World War II, he was pushing to do planes, wasn't he?
He was, and the Trimotor was a very successful model of a plane. It was used by the Postal Service, and the one they didn't get right was they were going to do the Flivver, which was going to be a single-person plane, just like the Model T was going to be the modernized transportation. The Flivver was going to do that for aviation. So Edsel always pushed for that.
Yeah. Other things, too, coming up in the Dearborn Inn. You have meetings. You have actually, I would think it'd be a great location. We were talking about weddings in the Michigan Central in the last segment, that this would be a location, too, for weddings and startups, right? Business startups to gather and such?
Absolutely. So along with the replica homes opening later this fall, our banquet space will also be opening. So we have about 17,000 square feet of meeting space. I'm sure many people are familiar or have attended a wedding there, whether their own or a family member's wedding. So we have a lot of brides who are very excited for our space to be open, but that's again coming later this fall.
So it's not open yet?
Correct.
And how, because I know people who are going to be planning their wedding. How many people can you fit in this site?
Depends on the setup of the space, but we can do around 800 people in the largest ballroom.
Mm-hmm. So since you're located in proximity, so close to Greenfield Village, Henry Ford, and that's such already a tourist mecca, one of the top in the country certainly for this, are you hooked in with them with what you do in terms of now that you're open for business marketing around the globe, not just here in Michigan, but around the globe?
Yes, we have a really great partnership with the Henry Ford and also, of course, Ford Motor Company as well to really bring travelers to the areas, explore the museum, and then also stay and enjoy their time in Dearborn as well.
And I think a big piece to it is Ford has really intentionally made that campus walkable. And so what we would encourage is for individuals to stay at the Dearborn Inn and then walk down Oakwood. So you can experience not only the transformation that Ford is undergoing, but you can very easily walk to a number of those spaces and enjoy the Dearborn community as well.
So as people who are historians love this sort of stuff here, Dearborn Inn was actually added as the National Register of Historic Places in 1982. Did that give it like more pomp and circumstance as if it needed more already?
It just makes it more of a special building. It acknowledges how special a building it was for its groundbreaking role in creating hotels and with the airport hotel and a whole concept. And another, it came from Edsel thought was, he said when you come to visit the Fords, you need to stay with the Fords. And that the whole Dearborn Inn was a place, you visit the Ford, stay with Ford.
So we're talking about the past with a lot of this. So you also are, the hotel was, I'm calling it hotels, and it's been revamped. What new things are there that like pay homage to the future type thing?
Sure. So I think I'd love to talk a bit about it because there is so many elements that only honor the legacy but talk about the future. When you think about when you sit in the spaces, certainly it's the original flooring, it's the original windows that were handcrafted and restored, but it's the new modern amenities around how do you engage. So different types of seating spaces, different engagements that you can have outside, significant investments into making the outside far more attainable and accessible for the team members that come to stay at the Dearborn Inn. A big piece to it also is to make certain that we tell that story with Ford.
Yeah.
A piece that we haven't touched on yet is when you actually stay at the Dearborn Inn, you can get a passport photo taken. So we took the original phone booth at the Dearborn Inn, and a guest can step in, and it will either print for you or you can digitally send to yourself a boarding pass. And so you can have that experience when you come stay at the inn, which really talks to some of the future things that we want to talk about to make this inn sustainable as we continue to transform.
What was the toughest part? We've got about 60 seconds left here in the show here. What was the toughest part of bringing this to a conclusion and reopening? What was the one thing that was hardest?
I think the biggest challenge was to make certain that we did an honor in telling the story. as we think about the importance not only to the Ford family and the Ford legacy, but what we need to do there.
Well, certainly worth seeing, and I know this is going to be a big event here, big thing for people to see. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Enjoyed it. I'm going to come out and see it myself. I haven't seen the revamp. I'll be out there. So thank you again for being here. And thanks to you at home for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.